My friends, this is a great time to become a channel member. Every week now I'm posting uncensored videos exclusively for my channel members, along with custom emojis and live streams for members at the Arch-Villain level where you get to talk to me directly. Please consider supporting this channel by clicking the link in the video description and joining us in our fight to save pop culture. And also, check out our Patreon and Subscribe-Star pages for exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, including Harvey Cthulhu's insane podcasts, photos of my vast toy collection, and members at the Legionnaire level receive a signed photo, membership card, and certificate signed by me. You'll find the Patreon link in the video description as well. Thanks for watching, my friends, and now on to the video. At the start of Rings of Power Season 2, we get what is basically an extended flashback giving Sauron's backstory in Season 1, and it's just awful. How do you ruin a classic grand operatic villain capable of destroying the world? Show him getting butchered by a bunch of rebelling orcs, turned into a pile of black slime from his spilled blood. Show him in the basement eating rats and bugs, then getting captured and imprisoned by the same orcs again. I mean, you'd probably get the same effect showing Darth Vader in the morning on the toilet taking a dump and then flossing. The whole idea of an extended flashback showing what I jokingly call Sauron's rise to power is terribly misguided. It dispels any sense of mystery and grandeur about Sauron, turning him into just another bad guy, and a boring one at that. All this sordid and lengthy flashback achieves is making Sauron look degraded and cheap, like some kind of Freddy Krueger or something. Just another horror character turned into a pile of black slime from his congealed blood, eating rats and bugs, limping around getting beaten and abused, and you just wonder, what the hell is the point of this? Do the so-called writers of this crap want us to, feel sympathy for Sauron? Identify with him? Is this like the Acolyte where they're trying to make us identify with unsavory evil characters to blur the lines between good and evil? This is absolutely and ultimately in conflict with Tolkien's worldview and the whole point of Lord of the Rings, to draw clear distinctions between good and evil, a reflection of Tolkien's devout religious faith. Seeing Sauron butchered by a bunch of orcs, turned into a loathsome pile of black goo that has to scavenge and feed on vermin like a liquefied Renfield, murders a woman, gets captured by the same orcs that butchered him in the opening scene, and then seeing him chained and beaten, stealing an old man's medallion to fool Guy Ladriel into thinking he's royalty later? Oh God, this whole thing seems rinky-dink, bargain basement, and just a sad, pointless waste of time. And that's Rings of Power Season 2 in a nutshell. As Sauron is degraded into a bland, pedestrian meh-fest, so too is Tolkien's franchise. Watching Rings of Power, a number of things go through my mind, all of them bad. It amazes me how the creators of this show can make Tolkien's epic tale of Middle-earth seem so very small. We've seen how expansive and epic Tolkien's Lord of the Rings can appear on the big screen. Peter Jackson showed us all what Lord of the Rings can be when handled with skill and love. And yet, there wasn't a moment watching Rings of Power that I didn't think, this is wrong. This just feels so wrong. It feels so small, so trivial. I'm not involved emotionally in anything happening on the screen. I don't care about any of the characters in the slightest, and I don't believe these are real people or that this is a real world. Peter Jackson's trilogy had me charmed and riveted from the first few minutes clear through to the final reel of Return of the King, whereas this mini-me version didn't once make me feel anything except boredom and, at times, anger and disgust with the liberties taken with the source material. I try to understand exactly why this is so. After all, Rings of Power is an expensive production, just like the trilogy was, and yet somehow, where the trilogy felt like a massive epic with breathtaking environments, battles, and effects, Rings of Power feels fake. It feels perfunctory, like somehow they're covering certain bases, checking off certain items on an inventory, going through the motions without any real passion or vision. The one thing Rings of Power should have nailed down, given the enormous expense of this thing, is the visuals. This thing should look fantastic, but all too often it just looks shabby. The rings themselves look like cheap costume jewelry. I hear Celebrimbor is a master craftsman, but these rings look like the kind of shit you get from a spirit store on Halloween. The Grey Havens and Linden look shitty. Even Linden, for God's sakes. Even those parts of Linden that aren't CGI look like shit because of the sickly greenish-yellow color grading in the forest. What's meant to look glorious and colorful looks kind of like the colors you'd find in a mad scientist's beakers. That kind of Nickelodeon slime green and pus yellow. I don't know why they did it. Presumably the plants didn't really look like that in real life. In short, it just looks kind of fake and garish. The costumes look exactly like that. Costumes. Cosplay. Gil-galad has a tiny bit of flab in his under chin and looks like he needs to lay off the elderberry wine or something. He doesn't project authority. He looks like he should be a middle manager at Costco or in an insurance office somewhere. Elrond is at least written a little better and seems a little less annoying than he was in season 1, except, for God's sakes, can we talk about these elf ears? The more I look at them, the worse they seem. They look fake. They stick out. There's nothing graceful or elegant about them, and damn it, elves should be beautiful people, not goofy cosplayers at Comic-Con. And don't get me wrong, I've seen much better shit at Comic-Con. I don't mean to insult those cosplayers. They work miracles on almost no money because of their love and passion and commitment. But these dumb shits have all the money in the world, so why does this look so crappy? Everything about this production manages to look small and amateurish. They haven't expanded Tolkien's universe. They've shrunk it and wrapped it in plastic, like Laura Palmer, abandoned down by the river. Ultimately, I think the visuals fail here, not only because they look flat out fake. I think maybe it has something to do with the frame rate this show is shot at, or maybe the designs aren't great, or maybe somehow it relates back to the acting and the script.
Dude, how can the acting and script impact the special effects? They're either good or they're not, right?
The more I think about it, Harvey Cthulhu, if Rings of Power has taught me anything, it's how important it is for actors to sell the special effects. In order for us to believe in the CGI backgrounds and creatures, we need to believe the actors are really there and that they're engaged, either moved by the beauty, terrified by the menace. An actor who looks and feels like a cosplayer at a convention can stand in front of the best special effects in the world and make them seem cheesy and pedestrian. Not that Rings of Power is the best special effects by any stretch of the imagination. I think the reason I am unmoved by all the effects is, with very few exceptions, we've seen them done better over a decade ago in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, and frankly, the scripts have failed us.
Again with the scripts, dude. Doomcock, scripts have nothing to do with special effects.
Hear me out, Harvey. It seems to me the actors need to inhabit the special effects in order to sell them as real. And they can't do that if they look and act like cosplayers. Now, an actor can only do so much on his own. He needs a compelling script in order to immerse himself in a role. If the script sucks, it can take an actor clean out of his part and out of the scene as a whole. And I think that's what's happening in Rings of Power. For the most part, the scripts fail to humanize any of these characters. They don't seem real to me, not in the slightest. They seem like placeholders serving the plot wherever it's going, just kind of striding from mark to mark, saying their lines, and the plot moves on to the next CGI scene, then the next, then the next. And the end result is it's boring as hell. If the characters and their various dilemmas and battles aren't engaging our attention, you have more time to stare blankly at the effects and kind of notice anything wrong. Pick them apart in your mind. Only when plot, character, and visuals are all integrated and seamless does a story like this really work, and it just does not work with Rings of Power. Watching this stuff, I'm overwhelmed with the feeling, why the hell am I watching this? If I didn't have to watch it in order to review it, I wouldn't. That's the answer. But then I wonder, why is anyone watching this when there are far better things out there to watch? Who is this being made for exactly? It certainly isn't for hardcore Tolkien fans because it just doesn't pass the sniff test for canon fidelity. It can't be for just plain normies because it isn't terribly entertaining or fun. It's a grim slog from point to point because I don't care about anyone or anything in the story, and I pretty much just wish they'd all die so we could end this thing and go watch something good. In Fellowship of the Ring, I always tear up at Boromir's death, following his tragic moment of weakness. I am deeply moved by Aragorn and Arwen at Rivendell, by the little things Gandalf says as asides, a look of doubt in a moment of great danger. These little moments breathe life into a narrative, and it is these moments that Rings of Power is starved of. Galadriel has no subtlety, no authenticity, the character is wrong, I can barely look at some of the dwarves, they look so fake. Elrond made an everlasting impression on me in the movies, but then again the script was epic and the actor was a massive talent, so no surprise there. This Elrond seems more or less just bland as hell. He should be selling vacuums door to door or something. Lightweight actors, pedestrian scripts, and effects that try and fail to rise above those limitations. Rings of Power is just a colossal waste of time if you care at all about excellence or entertainment. There are certainly worse shows on television, yes, but honestly at this point, no one deserves bottom of the barrel. Speaking of which, let's talk a moment about the fatal death blow to this series, Galadriel. As far as Galadriel goes, I can't help but hate her because she sucked so bad in season 1, and that's this show's biggest problem. We hated season 1, and there's nothing here strong enough to reverse that lingering assessment. I loathed this crap before, and while season 2 episode 1 is less deeply offensive, that hatred plays forward. They had one chance to make a good first impression and they blew it. Galadriel. Bloody hell. In this season, she and Gil-galad are obviously tainted by Sauron, obsessed with Celebrimbor's rings just like everyone else except for Elrond, who, to his credit, thinks Sauron tainted them disguised as Halbrand and wants them destroyed. Even if it means the tree dies and the elves have to leave Middle-earth for Valinor, abandoning everyone to Sauron's tender mercies. The orcs at least seem more or less like orcs in the first episode. The rest of the acting is lost in the awful makeup, phony sets, crappy color grading. This whole thing is just plain shoddy, folks. I've seen all 3 episodes, and I may or may not do reviews of the other 2, but I doubt I'll watch any more. This thing is banal and anemic compared to what we know Middle-earth should be, and the only ones who should watch this crap are YouTubers who have to review it. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry. Ha 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 ha.